In the name of God, the ever-loving, the ever-compassionate, may I begin by thanking the Center for Interfaith Relations, Christy Brown, and most of all this wonderful city for having lit a candle of hope in a world that requires hope. This Festival of Faith, I believe, is a unique initiative, and coming from across the pond, we enjoy unique initiatives. An initiative, I believe, that brings together the image of God. If there's one Adam, 7 billion of us today represent that one Adam. We come together as one body. And it's beautiful that in this church we see diversity. People from different backgrounds, different languages, different faiths. But the beauty is that today we're united under one humanity. And that's something that brings us together, that removes those barriers that divide us. And so therefore, to come onto this blood drive, essentially this interfaith blood drive is done through the image of God. It's the idea that what vibrates the image of God is essentially love. Love changes hearts. Hearts change hearts, not laws, not legislation. Today, by showing compassion, what we're doing is ultimately we're touching hearts, removing distances and bringing each other together. And that's something which is profound. You could see that today there's no substitute for blood. You can't create it in a lab. But you know what? We can give it to one another. And that's something which is profound. Look, let's go today, open up any of our books of faith, and what do you see? You see this idea of selflessness. That today when religions are seen negatively, go to the media, go across the world, where people blame religion for starting wars. Why don't religions go back to basics? And that essentially is helping one another, selflessness. So today, whether it's in the dharmic traditions known as sewa, selfless service, or mitzvah, again the idea of selfless service, or khidmah, the idea of selfless service. All religions have something which is perennial, and that is the idea of selflessness. The power of the image of God is just that. The ability to sacrifice and to help one another. So come into the traditions and you'll see we're in a church, and this legacy goes back to Abraham. Abraham signed a covenant with God, essentially. A covenant is a moral responsibility. You see this within 3 great religions. Judaism with Abraham, Jesus with Moses, Jesus in Christianity, and then after that you see it with Imam Hussein in Islam. What is it? Is the idea of blood, covenant created on this. Abraham goes forward to sacrifice his son. What does God do? He gives life through that blood. In the same way, the blood of Christ. What does Jesus do? He gives hope to the world through his blood. And in the same way, when you look at a personality like Imam Hussein within the Islamic tradition, you find that his blood revived Islam, ultimately gave it hope, removed negativity from it. So in the name of Imam Hussein, approximately 4 years ago, we started an interfaith blood drive to give. And this started in London, and from London then it began to spread. Last year in Edinburgh, for example, we got together and you found that 95% of people giving blood were from the local communities. You had the Catholic Archbishop who came, he gave blood. You found that the Queen's representative, the Lord Provost, came, he gave blood. Our rabbis from different denominations, they came forward, they gave blood. The Sunni Shia communities came together. You know what that did? That bound these communities together. It removed those distances. Sometimes living in this atmosphere, society of social media, we feel that we're connected, but the reality is that we've been pushed away. When a person like me dressed like this walks in, for the majority of people, they think I probably couldn't speak English, and then they realize I'm an Englishman. But the beauty is that through this dialogue, through talking to one another, through giving to one another, our life force, what are we doing? We're saying to one another that we matter. And by you doing this in Louisville, you're sending a precedence. And that's something which is profound, that different cultures, different languages, different religions can come together under one umbrella. You know, when you give your blood, what are you doing? There's a saying, an old English saying that says that we can give our blood for our nation. Who is the nation? You are. So what are we doing? Regardless of our backgrounds, we're coming together and we're helping one another. We're touching hearts. We're forgiving one another. We're coming to comprehend one another. And through this, we're understanding one another. Remember one thing, dialogue leads to trust. Trust leads to friendship. Friendship leads to hope. And today the world requires hope. And you are paving that way. As a guest to your city, I'm extremely proud. I must say, it feels almost like home. To come here 24 hours and to see wonderful people with a wonderful project. And I truly believe that you will make a difference in the world. When people come to hear about this, the idea that regardless of who we are, we can come together to help in charity. I believe that's something which is divine. To polish that Adamic reality, to polish those divine names inside of ourselves, but ultimately to polish the image of God. Thank you very much.